Yes/no data type fields have several different ways that the user can interact with them. The most common is with a checkbox, option button, or toggle button. We can also group several of these elements together in what is called an option group to deal with more complex data entry tasks. We're going to continue working on the simple form that captured product feedback that we started in the last movie. Let's go ahead and right-click on it and choose Design View. Now the three controls that I want to work with are on the second level of the controls group. So I'm going to use the More button here and take a look at them. Here's the checkbox here. The option button is this one here. And the toggle button is this one way over here. Let's go ahead and add one of each of these to our form. I'll click on the checkbox and click down here to add that in. Next, we'll go back up. We'll add an option button and we'll add one of those. And once again, we'll come up here and we'll take the toggle button here and add one of those. Now let's go ahead and connect these three objects to their control source. I'm going to go over here onto the Data tab, and currently I've got the toggle button selected. And I'm going to choose to connect this to the public field, which is that yes/no data type from the feedback table. In fact, I'm going to connect all of these controls to the same field. So let's go ahead and select the option button here and change its control source to the public field. And the checkbox here, I'm going to select that and change its control source to the public field as well. Okay, let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to change my view into form view here. And we can see that they're all checked at the same time for each product. As I scroll through here, we'll see that they change at the same time. That's because they're all connected to the exact same field. Let's go back into Design View. So the checkbox, the option button, and the toggle button all indicate exactly the same thing. They're all either in a yes state or a no state. Let's go ahead and get rid of the option button and the toggle button, and that'll just leave the checkbox here. I'll delete those out. I'm going to change this label here. Instead of typing in check 5, I'm going to have it say, can we use this on our website? And we'll go ahead and move it into position. The other control that I want to take a look at is called an option group. It's this one here on the ribbon with the X, Y, Z, and the white rectangle below it. Option groups provide similar interaction to the radio button, the checkbox, and the toggle button, but they can do it with more complex data types. Back in the feedback table, this rating column collects a numeric value that indicates the customer's satisfaction with our product. What we can do is create an option group that'll capture this data. Let's go ahead and close out the feedback table and create an option group that'll deal with it. I'm going to go over here to the Design tab, click on this option here, and click down here to add in a new option group. When I do that, the option group wizard starts up. Here we get to define what the labels are going to be. This is what the end user is going to see on the form. And here I'm going to type in the text of what those numerical values mean. I'm going to type in excellent. The next one is going to be good. The next one down is average. Then below average. And finally poor. We'll go ahead and say next once those are all entered in. Here we get to define whether we want a default option. We can either choose yes and then choose the option from the list here, or we can say no, there's not going to be any default and the user will have to make a selection. I'm going to go ahead and choose this no option so that there's no default. We'll go ahead and say next. On this screen, we get to define what values are actually going to get saved back into the feedback table. So the user is going to see what appears in the label here. This is what's going to show up on the form. The value is what gets translated and put into the table. In this case, a value of excellent, I want to translate into a number 5. So I'm going to change these numbers and actually reverse them. So excellent is a 5, we'll go down good is a 4, average is 3, below average is 2, and poor is a 1. Let's go ahead and say next. And finally, we get to choose what we want to do with those values. We can either save them for later use, or we can store them back into a table. So I'm going to store these values in a field, and I'm going to choose the rating field here as where we're going to store those numbers. Let's go ahead and say next. We get to choose how we want this to appear on our form. We have the option button here. We can either view it as a checkbox here, or as a toggle button here. Now, a standard user convention is that checkboxes indicate that the user can select multiple items. So in this case, the option button is probably the best selection. So in this case, the option button is probably the best option. That'll indicate to the user that they can choose one of these, but not multiples. And then down here, we can choose what style we want to use for the line that'll appear around the outside of our option group. Right now, the default is etched, but we can change it to a flat appearance, a raised appearance, a shadowed appearance, or a sunken appearance. Let's go ahead and leave it on etched. We'll go ahead and say next, and then finish. That adds in a new option group into our form. I can change the label that appears here just by selecting it, double-clicking on it, and typing in rating. Finally, I'm going to move it into position. Let's go ahead and highlight all of these objects up here on the top. I'm going to move them over here to the left-hand side. And then I'll take my option group, I'll click on it, and move it over here to the right. Let's go ahead and make our form just a little bit wider to accommodate it, and a little bit shorter. So now we've added a checkbox for the yes or no data type in the public field, and this option group that controls the numeric values that appear in the rating field. Let's go ahead and test it out with a new product review. I'll switch my view into form view, and we'll press this new button over here to add in a new record. I'll choose a product to review. In this case, I'm going to choose the Eco 180. I'm going to type in a review here. Fantastic. We're going to go ahead and allow them to use this on the website, so I'll check that box there, and we'll give it a rating here of excellent. Once again, I'll press this pencil icon to save the record, and then go check it out in the feedback table, and there's our new review right there. We were able to successfully translate the excellent rating into the numerical value of 5, and we have the checkbox over here. So that's how you can use a checkbox, an option button, or a toggle button to interface with a yes/no public field. And we can also use a control group to translate what we want to store in the database, this numerical rating, into a different sort of text definition that is more user-friendly and presentable to our end users in the sense that it better defines what the numeric rating means.